These MAGA Republican Congress members have been getting extra over the past 24 hours when it comes to making total fools of themselves and humiliating and degrading themselves for Donald Trump and for the MAGA Republican billionaire oligarchy, the broligarchy. I want to contrast what I've seen over the past 24 hours with these MAGA Republicans with what I'm seeing with the Democrats, who are finding their fighting spirit at the perfect time. I think I should institute the policy that I have for Donald Trump, news reports where I don't show his audio and video. I don't think you want to see or hear MAGA Mike Johnson. So I'll explain what he and other MAGA Republicans did on Fox and on CNN and other corporate media. And I'll contrast that with what AOC is saying, what Dan Goldman, what other Democrats are saying. But let me just set the scene first. So I'll show you this very small clip. This is like Russian state TV propaganda, North Korea state TV propaganda style. So Sean Hannity from Fox is broadcasting here inside the Capitol building with the Republican caucus. The Republican members of Congress are his studio audience. And just watch the setup for this scene. Here, play this clip.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight we are broadcasting live. We are inside the beautiful U.S. Capitol building where Republicans now control both chambers of Congress. And right now there is also a Republican in the White House.
I mean, how utterly pathetic is that? So then Sean Hannity's asking MAGA Mike Johnson and Steve Scalise about cuts and what are you going to cut? What are you going to do? So MAGA Mike Johnson goes, we have pages and pages of cuts and we're going to deliver. And then MAGA Republican Steve Scalise says, think of all the slush funds, the Inflation Reduction Act. That created inflation. So folks, that's what the MAGA Republican Congress members are going with. They're saying inflation was created by, you knew they were going to blame everything on President Biden. They're saying President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, which reduced inflation, was the cause of inflation. The cause of inflation was that Donald Trump added $8 trillion in debt, recklessly printed money, mishandled COVID, said like a miracle it was all going to go away. The PPP program was mishandled. Millionaires and decamillionaires got so much money where Americans who needed it the most didn't get it. It was filled with fraud. Money was being printed recklessly. Supply chains were being destroyed. And Donald Trump was not focused on that. He was focused on his press conferences. That's what caused inflation. And by the way, you don't have to take my word for it. Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis both said that in the Republican primary debates that Donald Trump was too scared to show up to. They said, what do you think causes inflation? $8 trillion in debt. But MAGAs, they recognize that they're not going to get inflation down. So they're trying to blame it on the Inflation Reduction Act, which brought down inflation in the United States quicker than any other developed nation, wealthy nation, developing nation. And now, as a result of Donald Trump's policies, his tariffs, mass deportations, inflation is expected to go up. So then Sean Hannity asks MAGA Mike Johnson and everybody in the studio audience, who are all the MAGA Republican Congress members. I mean, just think about the level of propaganda here. Hannity goes, are you all ready to cut the size of the government by $2 trillion? And then MAGA Mike Johnson and all of the MAGA Republicans, by the way, take a look at there. It's not exactly a room filled with diversity. They all go, absolutely $2 trillion. You're not going to cut $2 trillion unless you're going to take away people's Social Security and take away Medicare and Medicaid and take away veterans benefits and take away people's health care. And by the way, you know who said that? Elon Musk said that the MAGA Republicans in Congress would be lucky if they cut $1 trillion. And I don't think they'll be able to cut that much either. And now one of the things that Donald Trump's been saying as well is that, well, we're going to tie my agenda with aid to Los Angeles. So if Los Angeles wants to get the aid it needs after the wildfires, you're going to have to get rid of the debt ceiling. Well, newsflash, you're going to get rid of the debt ceiling and you're going to give tax cuts to billionaires, decabillionaires. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to increase the deficit significantly. Sean Hannity then asks So a big part of your job, to the MAGA Republicans, is going to be to keep everybody together. How do you plan to make that work? MAGA Republican Congressmember Emmer goes, the same way we did last time. I mean, again, it's so utterly foolish. What do you mean last time, where you got rid of your Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, and I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where MAGA Mike Johnson at first was not voted Speaker, and then Donald Trump had to call all of his sheep and say, all right, you have to make MAGA Mike Johnson Speaker of the House, and then the sheep obeyed. Then Sean Hannity said about this, would you impose conditions for Los Angeles and California to get emergency aid for the fires regarding defund, dismantle, no bail laws? And then MAGA Mike Johnson says, yeah, I think all of those issues have to be addressed. Let me be very clear. California gives the federal government more money than basically any state. California's economy would be the 4th or 5th largest economy in the world if California was a country. These red states, they take and they take and they take from the blue states. No offense, red states, if you're living in one. The blue states are the ones basically paying for all of the government services that most of your population is on, while many of those people are voting red, hence the red states, and then saying this is socialism for their own food stamps, for their own government programs, for the things that allow them to survive. That's what's called leopards eating their own faces. I mean, you realize that you're voting for the people who want to get rid of the things that you depend on because that's Marxism, that's communism. No, that's how you're living right now. Sean Hannity then says, look, if this emergency energy declaration kicks in that Donald Trump really wants to kick in, maybe we could do some fracking in New York. We should do some fracking in New York. Let's be very clear. I have to fact check all of this stuff. All right, Hannity. The oil and gas industry basically says they don't need to increase the supply of oil. Okay. Right now, America is energy independent. There's more drilling now before Trump was in office than ever before in United States history. One of the things that the oil and gas industry was telling Donald Trump is, hey, we need to actually reduce the supply because we need to increase the demand. We need to raise our prices and we want to do stock buybacks. We have enough. There's enough drilling taking place. That's what they're actually saying behind the scenes. You got MAGA Mike Johnson spreading Donald Trump's lies over and over again. Oh, that California was so focused on its smelt fish that it didn't have any water. Lie, vicious lie. And then MAGA Mike Johnson tells Sean Hannity more about, and if California starts harboring illegal immigrants, we're going to cut off their aid. DC aid is going to get cut off. California is funding DC. So you're going to screw with us in California. Well, let's be very clear what's going to happen to the red states if that's the way you go and you try to retaliate against California. Take a look at what some of these other MAGA Republicans were doing and saying as well. Here's MAGA Republican Mark Harris on Trump dismantling the Department of Education. We don't need that. The best education is done when it's led by those who are at home. We shouldn't have an education department. MAGA Republican Representative Maliotakis, she decries policies that lead to criminals who assaulted police officers being released back onto the streets. As Aaron Rupert goes, who wants to tell her? You mean like the January 6th insurrectionists who Trump called hostages, the most violent and despicable seditious conspiracists who had terroristic enhancements for their behavior? People who tried to kill police officers that Donald Trump just released. Seriously? Oh, and then you have CNN asking MAGA Republican Representative Pete Sessions, so are you concerned? I mean, Elon Musk having an office in the White House and Elon Musk businesses being impacted or regulated and him having an influence to enrich himself, to which Pete Sessions goes, no, that doesn't bother me at all. Oh, and by the way, MAGA Republican Andy Ogles on his bill giving Trump the congressional authority to acquire Greenland. Andy Ogles goes, we are quite frankly the dominant predator. America is a dominant predator. So let's go out there and be the dominant predator. I hope you appreciate the policy of not showing you that audio and video. If you want to watch it, you can watch it. But let me share this with you. Here's what AOC has to say. Let's play this clip.
This is the United States of America. And I don't care what Elon Musk is doing behind a presidential seal. In this country, we hate Nazis. Kind of like a foundational defining thing. Two of probably the most foundational defining things about American history is that we beat the Confederates and we beat the Nazis. And I don't know what side people may be on today, but I still am not rocking with anyone sympathetic to Nazis. And I will do that until I am 6 feet in the ground. Like, kind of foundational to me as a human being. And so if you're cool and want to defend the Sig Heils and the Nazi salutes, all the, whatever you want to do, that's on you. I'm on the opposite side of that. I'm not with the Nazis. How about that? I mean, but it's very important for us to assert these things.
Here's what Democratic Congressmember Dan Goldman has to say. Play the clip.
Anderson, I'm absolutely horrified and just devastated to see these pardons for so many reasons. First of all, these are violent criminals who were convicted either by a jury or admitted their own guilt for assaulting police officers, for assaulting about 170 men and women of the Metropolitan Police Department and the Capitol Police Department who defend us, elected officials, every single day. I don't want to hear anybody, especially Donald Trump, tell me or anyone else that he backs the blue when he just pardoned hundreds of people who assaulted the blue, who assaulted police officers. But this is incredibly dangerous as well because he has now emboldened and uplifted these far-right extremists, these domestic violent extremists like the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. And he's done it intentionally because he knows that they will be his militia. And this is how democracy dies. It does it slowly. It doesn't happen overnight, but it starts to happen when you undermine the rule of law in such an egregious way.
And here's what Democratic Senator Jackie Rosen has to say. Play this clip.
You know, one of President Trump's first actions yesterday was rescinding President Biden's executive order to lower prescription drug prices. President Trump called this harmful. Lowering costs is harmful to people? Well, let me tell you this. When I go around Nevada, there is nobody who doesn't worry about access to healthcare or about getting affordable medication. And I know this, having a bad diagnosis can change your life in an instant. And if you can't get your insulin, if you can't get your chemotherapy, if you can't get your blood pressure medication, whatever it is, you can't lead a healthy life. So I just want to ask President Trump this. How is this making anybody's life better? How is this making your life better? I'll tell you who it's making it better for. It's only making drug companies richer. It's not helping you.
And meanwhile, if you want to understand the depths of depravity of these MAGA Republicans, so last night, Donald Trump was literally selling crypto from inside the White House. Last night, Donald Trump was selling his meme coin, which was tanking, and to try to revive it, he was selling meme coins from the freaking White House. How pathetic can you get? Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 500,000 followers.